Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Ellie. I am 29 years old and I live in New York City. I share weekly snapshots of my life in vlogs. This week, however, though, I did not vlog. I was feeling a little bit run down. I was super busy with work and I honestly just needed some time to just calm down. So instead of a vlog this week, I am going to be ranking my 5 books that I read in January. If you know me in real life, you know that I am such a big reader. I really got back into reading during COVID. I am the kind of person who would much rather pick up a book than watch TV. So I try to read as much as possible and I got 5 books in January. I'm going to try to make this a recurring series. So please let me know in the comments if this is something that you enjoy and something that you want me to keep doing. But for now, let's get into it. We are going to start with number 5 and work our way up to my favorite book of January. Also, quick interjection before we get into it. I would not be normally wearing a hat inside while it's clearly dark outside, but I just got back from brunch with friends and you don't want to see what's going on underneath here, so we're going to keep the hat on for the video. All right, now let's actually get into it. Because I'm recording on my phone, I have all of my books and my Goodreads pulled up on my computer to the side, so if I look over there, that's why. But first off, we're going to kick off with book number 5 of 5 that I read in January, and that is One Night Only by Catherine Walsh. This is a rom-com. I did read another Catherine Walsh book during January, which I'll get to in a minute on the list, but this was the second Catherine Walsh book that I read this month, and I enjoyed the first one, which again, I'll get into more later. So I thought, why not pick another Catherine Walsh book? I think I've talked about this in videos before, but I tend to get really stuck in genres, and right now I'm kind of in a rom-com genre, so you'll see that theme throughout the books I read in January. But anyway, back to One Night Only. So One Night Only follows the story of a girl named Sarah who came off of a really bad breakup. She has kind of sworn off dating, but tends to have a lot of one night only relationships. She flies to her best friend's wedding in Ireland where she is the maid of honor and happens to meet one of her one night stands who happens to be the groom's brother, and it follows kind of their second chance meeting and what happens after the fact. This book is your very typical, I guess, kind of meet cute in a way, romance, enemies to lovers trope. I thought this book was cute, but I felt like there were so many plot lines to follow, and not even necessarily among different characters, but within the 2 main characters themselves. There were a lot of, I don't know, one-off stories with her family, his past, and I understand how they all play into the main plot, but I felt like there were just a few too many deviations, and we could have done without some of them to make the story a little bit more streamlined and clear. I also just wasn't obsessed with the main character, Sarah. She was just very honestly annoying throughout a lot of the book. She tried to justify her actions in ways that just didn't feel necessary or relevant. But overall, I thought it was cute enough to push through. I'm a very firm believer in not finishing books you don't like, and I clearly liked this one enough to at least finish it. That said, I did give it 2 stars, generously 2.5. I don't know that I would recommend it to someone, but I also don't necessarily regret reading it. It was fine. Baseline, it was fine. So that was book number 5 of 5, One Night Only by Catherine Walsh. Book number 2 was Olivia Strauss is Running Out of Time by Angela Brown. Let me make sure that's right. Yes, Angela Brown. I picked out this book because I read kind of a similar book called The Most Likely Club, I think is what it was, last year, and I thought it was really cute, really fun, about a group of middle-aged women kind of realizing that their time is not up, there's still so much more they can do, and kind of reinventing themselves in the second half of their life. This book follows a very similar storyline, so I thought I was going to enjoy it, and I did. I gave this book 3 stars, but I just forgot what this book was about. I remember this book. Okay. This book took a little bit of a different angle. In this book, it follows Olivia Strauss, who is turning 39, and her best friend, who lives in New York City, is known for getting her kind of off-the-wall gifts. They share a birthday, I believe. Fact check me on that, but I think they share a birthday, and they typically do these kind of like off-the-wall things together for their birthdays. And for this birthday, she gets her a test that can essentially tell you the day that you're going to die, not how or where, but just the day you die, down to the actual day. And it's kind of poking fun at like the wellness era and like that entire industry. And I thought that they like overplayed that just a little bit, but also in general, the book was just a little bit weird. I don't know. So then the book follows Olivia. The whole test itself and the wellness center was kind of a confusing storyline to follow. I don't want to give anything away, but there were just some plot holes, I feel like, in that in itself. Then after the test, it goes on Olivia's journey of like kind of realizing her dream of wanting to be a writer and pursuing that. And I feel like the character of Olivia was meant to be really empowering, and like even if you're a mom, even if you're married, even if you have kind of like committed to the family life, you can still chase your own aspirations as an independent woman not tied to your family. But the way she did it didn't feel authentic or really come through that way. I don't know. I just felt like she unintentionally ended up positioning Olivia as really selfish. And I thought that there was a better way for her to be empowering of women in that life phase without completely disregarding who they are, if that makes sense. I don't know. Read the book. We'll circle back on it. Let me know your thoughts. All that to say, this book was fun. It was kind of a unique take, but it wasn't my favorite. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but I'm ranking it 4 out of 5 of the books that I read in January. And again, that was Olivia Strauss's Running Out of Time by Angela Brown. Next up is my second Catherine Walsh book of January. This is actually the first Catherine Walsh book that I read. I read it right at the beginning of the year. It's called Snowed In. It was so cute. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars because it was just very much a baseline rom-com read for me. Didn't reinvent the wheel. It wasn't earth-shattering, but I did enjoy reading it. Similar to the other Catherine Walsh book I read this month, it has a similar storyline of where the main character, Megan, has kind of a tumultuous breakup, and it follows her story as she goes back to her hometown for the first time since leaving her fiance at the altar. That's not a spoiler. That's like right in the upfront. I think it's in the description of the book too. And she goes back with this boy named Christian, who's also from her hometown. They weren't friends in high school, weren't necessarily enemies either, but just like you wouldn't put the two together kind of situation. And Christian's family is very big on him settling down and being in a relationship because his siblings are. So Christian and Megan form this pact to pretend to be in a relationship to go home for the holidays. That is a really convoluted way to give the plotline, but that's what it is. Of course, again, kind of an enemies to lovers trope, or I guess more strangers to lovers. I thought it was super cute. I thought it was a little bit long, and there were some parts of the book where I was like, what is going on here? But overall, super cute, good read, fun, flew through it. Definitely recommend if you're looking for something light and cute and fun. Book number 4, I have passed up this book on both Kindle Unlimited and Libby so many times. I don't know why. I was just not feeling drawn to it, but I finally caved now that I'm in this rom-com genre era that I'm in, and I got The Bodyguard. And you guys, I'm obsessed with this book. It was perfect. It was so cute. Let me backtrack and give you a synopsis of what the book is even about. First of all, the book is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. Lots of Catherines in the month of January. I guess just 2, but 3 books. So The Bodyguard is about a girl named Hannah who is a like private hire bodyguard for high profile people. She's based in Houston. I'm of course such a fan of books based in Texas. Even though I don't live there anymore, I still think it's so fun to read books based on my home state. But anyway, Hannah's based in Houston. Historically, she's covered a lot of oil tycoons and billionaires and things like that, and she's always jet setting to different countries. But again, after a breakup, she is stuck in Houston, and the case that she gets put on is to be the bodyguard for super famous actor Jack Stapleton, who is flying back to Houston to be there for his mom while she is undergoing cancer treatment. I thought it was gonna be the guy being the bodyguard, but I love it even more because it was the girl, and she was so badass. And I just loved their love story and everything that happened. And I was also genuinely shocked by the twist at the end. I don't want to give too much away, but essentially there's this stalker and you don't really know who it is until the end, and I'm not going to say any more than that because, again, I don't want to give it away, but I was genuinely, like, they got me. I got by this book. But anyway, all that to say, I thought it was such a fun book. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I would highly recommend to anyone looking for a fun, cute, romantic, laugh out loud, surprising rom-com. And my last book that I read in January, which was my favorite book, honestly, probably one of my favorites of all time, and I looked up how to pronounce this. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. I believe it is Mame. It's Maame, and it is by Jessica George. This is another book that I kind of just picked at random. I don't even think I read the description of the book before I started reading it, and it captivated me from the moment I started it. This book is about the early adult life of a girl named Maddie, whose family is originally from Ghana, but now she lives in London, I think it's London, with her dad, and her brother also lives in the London area, but not with them. And I think what immediately hooked me to this book is that I saw so much of myself in Maddie, so much of my younger self in Maddie, because she is the primary caretaker of her dad, who has Parkinson's, I believe it is. Yes, late stage Parkinson's. So again, I saw a lot of my younger self when I was a primary caretaker for my dad, who was also really sick. And I just related so much in those early chapters of what she was going through and kind of the doubts she was experiencing and things like that. It's really a coming of age story of Maddie kind of branching out on her own. She moves out and dealing with all of the kind of anxiety and thought and guilt that comes with that, and follows her life as she starts dating and she has roommates and she gets a new job and she leaves a job and things like that, but also dealing with just really hard family things like her brother who isn't around to help out with her dad, and her mom who is very much still alive but spends half the year in Ghana, or every other year in Ghana maybe it is. It touches a lot on the struggles and kind of just like the adversity of being a Black woman in a primarily white industry with her career, or having white roommates and the microaggressions that they make towards her, which I always really appreciate reading books that, again, I think I've talked about this as well, really expand my worldview. And I just can't express enough how much I enjoyed this book. It was so heartbreaking and raw and emotional, but also so eye-opening, and I just wanted to give Maddie the biggest hug throughout the entire process. I think that this is an absolute must-read for everyone. If you haven't read it yet, go download it or buy it immediately and let me know your thoughts, because again, this very quickly became probably one of my top 5 books of all time. Let's recap it again from the top. Number 5 was One Night Only by Catherine Walsh. Number 4 was Olivia Strauss is Running Out of Time by Angela Brown. Number 3 was Snowed In, also by Catherine Walsh. Number 2 was The Bodyguard by Catherine Center, and my favorite read of January was Mame by Jessica George. That's it for this month. Like I said in the beginning, really hope you enjoyed this video. I love reading so much, so I definitely want to do more book recommendations if it's something that you're interested in. Also, if you have books that you really want me to read, please drop them in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions. I would like to keep up with this 5 book a month pace. My goal is 50. I'm obviously tracking ahead of that right now, but we'll see where we get. That is all for this video. I will see you with a regularly scheduled weekly vlog next week. Bye.